Brand Podcast, Detroit's premier youth sports podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you're also from the Midwest, correct?
Yes.
Ohio?
Born and raised, yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So before we get started with the podcast, I always like to kind of share my background with our guests. So my journey kind of began, I grew up, I was born in Ghana, and in the mid 80s, there was government and political unrest. And so my family got split up. And actually, me and my mother, we reconnected with my father in Ohio on Miami of Ohio campus.
Wow.
Ohio will always have a special place in my heart. Then a Catholic church in Michigan, they did a fundraiser, and we were able to track my siblings, my older siblings, and bring my family together in Detroit. So ended up growing up mainly in Detroit. Yeah. So with that being said, Tianna Bartoletta, give the young people a little background of the beginnings of an Olympian, a champion. Who was Tianna Bartoletta growing up in Elyria, Ohio?
Yeah, but it's so hard to follow your story with my story. I mean, that is an incredible story. I just wanted to take a minute to say that. Kudos to you for just keeping on. That's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Elyria, Ohio, 20 minutes west of Cleveland, but no reason anybody would have probably even passed through. It's a very small town. We've got one public high school. And honestly, my journey to the Olympics has a lot to do with my parents simply not wanting to pay for college. It just one day, I believe it was probably the fall of my junior year, my dad asked to speak to me, and he said, me and your mom have been talking, and we decided you absolutely have to go away for school. And, I'm thinking like, duh, this is a small town. Like, I don't want to stay here forever. Like, why would I choose that? But then he said, no, there's more. We're not paying for it. So figure it out. And I was like, oh, the plot thickens. So before I agreed to that, I said, wait a minute. If I can somehow figure out how to get a scholarship to college, you and mom need to buy me a car because it's still cheaper than 4 years of tuition, room and board, my meal plan. I'm listing all these things. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, deal. So we shook on it. And from that moment forward, I proceeded to make sure that my academics were on point, which I never had an issue with. I've always been a great student. I was an honor student. I was in AP courses, the gifted track, all this stuff. So that was covered. But when it came to athletics, that's a different story. I was on the volleyball team, but my serves only cleared the net like 50% of the time. So I'm not I'm not getting a scholarship for one, being short, two, being left-handed with a weird curve on my underhand serve, and three, my parents wouldn't pay for me to go get additional, lessons or camps or anything. So I just wasn't going to get any better at volleyball. So I knew that was off the list. Basketball, I loved. It was fun. I loved the team sport. I loved the locker room. I love how aggressive it can be. But I didn't have any ball handling skills. And I was super fast. So we would get a fast break, and then I would get the ball, and I'd be dribbling, trying to set up for a layup, and lose the ball because I outran it. And then I have to go back and get the ball. So I knew that basketball wasn't gonna pan out for me in terms of a scholarship. And that just left track. So track won out because I sucked the least at it. But once I chose track, that's when we really got down to, okay, now we need to run in the summer. Now we need to go to this clinic. Now we need to reach out to some people who know more than we do about what we're trying to do in order to make you just a little bit better. Like, because even just a little bit better opens so many doors. And so that's what happened. I didn't even focus on just track until my junior year. And doing that, being deliberate and intentional in choosing that sport is the beginning of how I've continued to progress in the sport.
Okay. Beautiful. And I will use the word beautiful a lot because it's always refreshing to see someone not give up on a certain talent and not just use it, but maximize it. And that's always beautiful to see. As we go on this episode, I'll share how track and field was supposed to be my path in life, but I actually gave in to other factors, and that took me off of one of the more prominent high school track programs in Michigan. I went to Cass Tech in Detroit, and our track program is pretty prominent throughout the whole state, but I did not maximize my talent. So it's good to see someone that did maximize their talent. Now, Tiana, so had it not been for track and field, what other career path do you think you would have taken?
Yeah, so what a lot of people don't know, but I think more people know now, is that even though I went to the University of Tennessee, I actually attended on a full academic scholarship. So I had been offered a full athletic scholarship, but I accepted the full academic scholarship. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so like I've always been up here in my head. The degree that I was working on when I made my first Olympic team was molecular and microbiology. I have a head for science. I had planned and wanted to go to medical school and become an MD PhD so that I could do research and find cures. And, like I would probably be on the front lines right now. COVID-19 I had my way, and that was my plan 10 years ago. So yeah, I'm very much a scientist. At the same time, I would love to be a full-time writer. That's I've been a writer longer than I've been an athlete, and it's another area that I just want to master and practice and continue to level up those abilities. And if there was a way to marry all of those things, which I think I have done in a lot of ways, I would just do all of those things. I'm really a proponent for not trying to be just one thing. You can focus on one thing so that you can master it, but that your identity doesn't have to be tied to that one thing.
Yes, and you are definitely more than an athlete.
Thank you.
My older sister, when she sees this episode, she's really gonna be throwing her fists in the air. She's Genevieve. She's an ICU nurse, and she and her fellow nurse, they're out in New York. They put together a book and published it, and it's called Hidden Truths. But she's always been big on expanding your horizons. She always used to tell me that, like, hey, don't have tunnel vision. They like Gerard, there is life beyond just sports. Like, do other things. It wasn't her first time doing books, but I was really impressed that now she's an ICU nurse and she's still publishing books. Like, where do you find the time in the day? So she'll be happy to hear what you said. So now, what do you think the future is as far as the sport of track and field in the era of COVID?
Yeah, I think we already had a pretty decent socially distanced sport. It won't require too much manipulation in order to continue to do track and field safely. So with that, I'm very comfortable that this is not something that'll just fizzle out. There's just way too many of us involved in this sport, from like age 4 all the way up through the masters. There's too many of us here in this country that love to run, that love to jump and challenge ourselves in that way. Even I imagine that even if it went virtual and we had to compete and submit times, people would still do that. So I'm
Yes.
actually not at all concerned about the sport itself. I think it's a matter of things like, can the Olympic trials, events that attract a lot of people, can those things happen safely for both the athletes and the spectators? I think that's the larger question, but I am not worried at all about the future of track and field when it comes to COVID-19.
And I wouldn't be surprised if a vaccine comes up, within the next year or so either. So,
Right. They're
always,
working really hard on that. So yeah.
yeah. Now, on this podcast, I will always want to educate, inform, inspire, motivate our young viewers. I want to expose them to adult professionals from different cultures, different parts of the world. Sometimes I have a guest that's a master chef. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Tiana?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Oh, okay. I thought I cut out. Like one time I had, like 1 week I have like a guest that's a master chef in Michigan. Another time, a lady from the University of the West Indies on the show. And I kind of, I always want to give youth other lenses to view the world. So with that being said, each guest has gone through some adversity in life and they overcame it. So I just want you to share with our young viewers a trying or challenging moment in your life thus far and how you overcame it. Tiana, your volume got muted off. Let's see.
There?
There we go.
Okay. I was saying, I won my first world championship title when I was 19 years old. I won an indoor world championship the following year at 20. And then I got injured in a freak long jump accident shortly after that. And it messed with me so much mentally that I didn't jump well for 7 years, 7 seasons. I didn't quit on myself, but I quit the long jump and was just kind of going through the motions, trying to stay in the sport, thinking that as long as I don't quit, it'll come back around, because that's how it goes. You'll have a great season, then you'll have a okay season, and then sometimes you'll just have a downright horrible season. But if you keep going, it'll come back around. You'll have another great season. I mean, it's just the way it goes. We all think we'll win forever, but that's just not how it works. So for 7 years, I was just not jumping well. If I was going against the high school version of me in the long jump, the high school version of me would kick my butt every single time over the course of the 7 years. That's how bad it was. Eventually, I was just too embarrassed to step back out there again because I was struggling and I didn't know what the answer was. Finally, I decided, you know what, it's time to just give up the sport. Like, I have held on for 7 seasons too long. Like, clearly it's not working out. I need to just let it go. But before I did that, I was like, I'm still making enough money on the European circuit to pay rent, to pay tuition, do all these things. So I'm going to just see it out until I get this degree so that I can just move on. Well, once I
Tiana, your volume cut off again. Tiana, your volume cut off again.
You still can't hear me?
Now it's on.
Okay. So deciding to just, keep showing up, keep putting in the work so that I can make the money, so that I can get the degree and move on. But that effort put me on the Olympic team in 2012.
Okay.
And suddenly that plan B of school is out the window, right? And so I tell that story because I thought it was over, but I didn't quit. Like, I knew that, like, I had seen better days, but I didn't give up on myself. I kept showing up. I kept doing the work. I kept, trying to do things that could make me just 1% better. And all of that added up to putting me on my first Olympic team 7 years after winning my first medal. And so the moral of that story is keep showing up. I mean, you're not going to win all the time, but the flip side of that is you're not going to lose all the time either, as long as you don't quit.
Okay. Shout outs to Coach Jasmine Wilkes at Cass Tech. She's, even though she's coaching track at my high school in Detroit, she's from Ohio, and she's a big fan of yours. And, I know, some of the ladies on her team are going to be tuning in, to what you said. You're not going to win them all, but you're not going to lose them all either. You got to keep putting forth the effort. Now, I've been working with youth for 8 straight years now, and whether it's Detroit, Michigan, or even out in Colorado, and I sensed a feeling of hopelessness from some of our young people. It's like they've been hit hard with challenges at home, at school, and they're starting. Some of them are starting to give up. What advice would you have for some of our young ladies right now? Like, they're in high school, they're going through challenges. They don't know if college is in the picture. What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I would say you don't need to know, but what you should do is remain open to the possibility that might be something you want to do, right? Okay. So I didn't come into this with dreams of being an Olympian at all. Wasn't even on my radar. Didn't care. Didn't really know anything about being a professional athlete. But every day I did the work that was required anyway, because there's nothing worse than having the opportunity to set yourself up for success and not taking it. And so this is one of those things. You don't have to know today, August 19th, what your future is going to be like. You just have to not play yourself today for a potential future you might want to have. And so with that being said, like, still do the homework, like still do your work, still study, still try to pass the test, still go to practice, still be deliberate about your sprint drills, still try to learn stuff, because maybe you'll change your mind and you want to be able to look back at this time and be like, I did that. I set myself up. I had no clue what I wanted to do, but I didn't screw myself by limiting my opportunities by not doing the work. And that's my advice. You don't have to know anything for sure. All you have to know is that on this day, you are going to do what you need to do. And then repeat that tomorrow until you get some clarity about what it is you want to do.
Well said. Speaking of well said, you're a writer as well. So if you could choose 3 words to describe your life thus far, what 3 words would those be?
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous, okay.
Mm-hmm. Adventurous.
Okay, adventurous.
And magnetic.
And magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
So now, how did you select those 3 words?
Well, I chose tumultuous for obvious reasons, for all of the adversity and the ups and downs and just everything. Absolutely, my life can be qualified as tumultuous. I chose adventurous because within all of those up and downs, I still was fearless enough, brave enough, and curious enough to try new things, to like go over here and see what happens here in the face of all of that. And magnetic because within all of that up and down, within all of that exploring, I have been able to share my story and draw other people into that story too, in a way where not only I feel supported in living my best life, but also the people who read or, interact with me also feel supported because they know they're not alone in their pursuit of whatever it is they're doing.
Mhm, mhm.
That's where those three words came from.
Excellent. And you're sharing, you're spreading the love, you're sharing the love. On your Instagram, I saw you had like a piece in there called like mental health check-in. And I kind of want to borrow that too, because, I work with youth and, I'm trying to find ways to engage youth, kind of do some mental health check-ins, see how they're
Mhm.
doing. Where did you come about with that idea for this mental health check-in?
Well, I saw
Tiana, your volume cut off again. Try it again. Let's see.
still nothing.
There we go.
Okay.
Who
I keep getting a little message that my connection is unstable, but I don't know what else to do.
knows? Oh.
That's new.
I'm gonna
um,
keep collecting the jewels that you're dropping, so keep dropping
okay,
those jewels.
cool, cool. Um, I I found that similar post maybe a year ago and saved it to my phone because I thought it was
Oh.
really a good idea, because it was something I would have needed back then. I just saved it to my phone and didn't think anything of it. And then the other day, The Weight of Gold came out, which is an HBO documentary that follows some Olympians about, depression that comes with training for the Olympics and what happens after. And I thought it would be a good time to just start getting people talking about mental health, without needing, in an easy way. So I've seen the emojis done before, but this is like very easy for people. And I will email you the post if you want to just share it with
Yes,
your people.
please.
I'll
Thank you.
email it to you so you can just have it. I've seen it reshared on other people's pages, which is really nice because the more we ask about this and the more supportive we are, the better.
Mm-hmm,
So yeah,
mm-hmm.
I just thought it was important because Olympians, athletes, especially now with the future of sport kind of being up in the air, are really struggling with their identity and a sense of purpose and passion. And even non-athletes right now are all dealing with this COVID shelter in place orders in different ways. And it's just a really
Yes.
good time to just connect with people and say, I'm here to listen, or, I understand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The mind, the mind and the heart in some ways is more challenging to build up than the body. So
Yeah.
I definitely would appreciate you emailing that. Now, which actress would play your life story if you ever came up with a movie?
Yaya DaCosta.
Yaya DaCosta.
Yeah. I first became aware of her because she was on America's Next Top Model
Okay.
many, many years ago. And now she's on a lot of TV shows. So you've probably seen her and just didn't know her name.
Right,
But when
right. Just
you
didn't know
see
her
her,
name.
you'll understand why I chose her.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
um Now, as far as like a day in the life. So some of the guests I've had, they're former pro athletes or former college athletes or current high school athletes. I have yet to interview a current pro athlete. So with that being said, Tiana, share with us a day in the life of a pro athlete / Olympian. What's a typical day look like? Are you uh, awake at 5 a.m., meditating, eating
Yeah,
fruits and
basically.
vegetables?
Yeah, so between 5:30 and 6, I try to wake up. Um, I use a sunrise clock so that I can wake up more gently. And then I try to meditate for 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'll do a short yoga routine to kind of feel where I am in my body, have breakfast. And then in the mornings, I use that time to kind of write, get my thoughts together for the day, maybe read a little bit because we don't train until the afternoon. So the morning is largely for all the other things Tiana does that don't involve training intensely or competing. That's what I do in
Okay.
the morning. And then we head to the track. And right now, the track where I typically train is actually padlocked and not allowed to use it. And so we have to find local high school tracks to use depending on the workout that we're doing. I'll do that for a couple hours, and depending on the day, if it's Monday or Friday, then I have to eat. I'll take a 15-minute power nap, and then I'll go into my garage and lift where we had to build a garage gym because the gyms are closed. And so that's pretty much Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesdays and Thursdays are active recovery days. So typically, because I train for 4 to 6 hours on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the Tuesdays and Thursdays really take on like doing the longer runs, doing all the treatment, the chiropractic appointments, massage therapy if I need to, more yoga, more meditation, reading. So Tuesdays and Thursdays really look like recovery of my physical body, but also mentally, so that I can
wellness.
kill it again on the following day. I like to wake up on the days that I work out feeling like I have actively recovered myself so that I can give 100%. I'm not always successful at that. Some days I wake up like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this workout? But most of the time, I have done enough recovery work to feel good about giving 100% at the next training session.
Okay. In my competitive days, way back in the Stone Age, old school coaches, they'll always say, every time you're working hard, there's somebody out there working harder. Do you kind of get that sense, like with the Jamaicans, as far as like the rivalry between them and the U.S.? Is there a rivalry, first of all?
There absolutely is a rivalry, for sure. Absolutely. But do I walk around all day like I need to do this because such and such might be working harder than me? Absolutely not. I think when I was younger, that used to scare me enough to make me do work. But now that I'm about my personal pursuit of mastery, right? Now that I actually care about becoming the best jumper I can be, it doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. What matters is what I'm doing. And so I will make sure that it's going to be really, really hard for someone else to say they outworked me, but that's not the motivation because it's internal. And I think when a young athlete can shift the motivation from external to internal, then you become really, really hard to beat. And it does not matter that somebody else is posting a training session that might look harder than yours. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I tell this to people all the time. The goal of you training, the goal of you showing up to practice is to train the body you have. So you looking at somebody else doing a totally different workout with a totally different body has nothing to do with you, nor is it an indicator of how you're going to do in a competition versus that person. So don't worry about all that. Worry about, are you getting out of the training session what you need to get out of the training session? Are you warming up properly? Are you cooling down properly? Are you eating properly? Are you sleeping properly? Make it really, really hard for someone else to say they outworked you, but don't worry about comparing what's going on between the two of you.
And that's really important that you mentioned that, especially for high school age athletes that are very image conscious, self-conscious, typically comparing themselves to someone else's body type, Gail Devers, in my opinion, wasn't even tall for like a hurdler, but she was successful as a hurdler. A lot of sprinters are typically not 6'5" like Usain Bolt. So you got to make it, work for your body structure, your body type. Thank you.
Exactly. I'm the second shortest long jumper in the world, but I'm the reigning Olympic champion because I can look at the event and know what it is I need to do to win. Like Tiana, as a short jumper, needs to be fast. So that's what I have to do to win. But if I were 5'9", 5'10", my approach would be totally different because that's not what I need, or I can depend on other things or have other advantages. So for sure, in this age of social media and everybody having the tendency to flex in the posts that they make. It gets real easy to look at other people and other bodies. I mean, I even sometimes will be like, oh man, oh, I need to get as lean as that. Even though like I'm looking at somebody who doesn't even compete. I'm looking at maybe a fitness model or something. Like my body is functional for what I need it to do. And yet I still will sometimes find myself in a rabbit hole like my abs don't look like that. Well, your abs don't need to look like that. And it's hard to sometimes remember and keep that perspective that this really is, especially track and field, a personal, customized journey. Like it's not gonna look like what the next person looks like.
Yes, yes. Shout outs to you, shout outs to Allison Felix, because even for a sprinter, she doesn't look like a typical like sprinter to me, but she's had a lot of success, the 100, 200 meters. Got to make it work for, what you're working with. So with that being said, what part of the world would you like to visit? Because I'm sure you've been all around the globe competing in different events, but what part didn't you hit just yet?
Yeah, I would love to go to Fiji, New Zealand, the Maldives Islands, Australia. I have not made it that far yet.
Oh, yeah.
I've been almost on every other continent, but no, not over there.
Now, I assume your husband is either Italian or Sicilian with Bartoletta. Have you ever visited that part of the world, or?
Yeah, so he's ex-husband, but I am in Italy almost every year, with the exception of this year because we couldn't travel, anywhere.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so it is of Sicilian descent, and I speak Italian as well. So Italy is like one of I would say it's like my third home.
Okay. I had some youth on the show from South Sudan, and I was trying to like kind of spotlight them because they're trying to get scholarships to come out here. Because even though they're South Sudanese, they're refugees like in Uganda and Kenya. And, I expected to hear about, how great they were at basketball, their height, their wingspan, but they shared a few other things that was very impressive. Like a lot of South Sudanese speak multiple languages, like Arabic. And I'm like, dude, if you could get over here and get a college education, you could be a translator and get paid because you speak Arabic, for crying out loud. Like you got options, so it's good to learn another language.
Yeah, I speak 3, and I think it's really important that you know how to communicate with people who are not like you. One time I was in Morocco, and I was worried because I was like, I don't speak the language, but in Morocco they speak French, they speak Spanish, they speak Arabic.
Oh, wow.
And so I was able, because I speak Spanish, I was able to just chop it up and enjoy my time. And when you attempt to learn or speak the language of the people in that area, it just completely unlocks a different level of hospitality. And that's what track has done for me, right? Because would I have been in Morocco if I wasn't a track athlete? Not at all. Would I have ever been able to live in Europe if it weren't for track? Not at all. And so I love to tell people this. It's like, if you could have the world at your fingertips and all that it required was for you to go to practice and like give good effort, you can get your school paid for, you can potentially get a shoe contract, but you definitely can travel the world and make money off of your legs, off of just running around and explore all these new places. And all that is required is for you to give a damn about your effort and practice. Do it.
Yep.
Do it. Do it.
Yes. Tiana, I don't know if I ever run into another Olympic athlete again, but I wanted to thank you for being humble enough to, show up on my podcast. And, I hope to one day have you in some of the youth events, that I do with, with my regular 9 to 5 Hope to have you on, you know, as a virtual guest to be a speaker. You know, your story is incredible, and your personality is not that typical of someone at your level. You know, I've run into local Detroit natives that made it big, and the ego was just so high up there that it was just like,
It's a lot.
wow. You know, so thank you so much for coming on the Heavy Brand podcast. I'm gonna upload our episode, if you don't mind, on the Instagram,
Okay. Don't
on the
mind it.
social media. Thank you very much. And in my native tongue, I'll say "medase," which means thank you in Chui.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I've been to Ghana too, by the way.
Oh, okay. So you have been to my native homeland.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have. I should go back, spend some more time. But thank you so much for having me
Thank
on.
you.
I appreciate
Thank
the
you.
conversation.
God bless.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one.
So.